Welcome in to another Fantasy Six Pack 2023 Fantasy Baseball Team Previews. I am Jason. You can find me on Twitter at JRBex. I'm joined here by JP, and you can find him on Twitter at DapScout. Before we get started, first off, if you haven't already done so, go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel. You're going to get great fantasy content all year long. And if you want to get access to award-winning advice/rankings and more available on Fantasy Six Pack, sign up for membership today at fantasysixpack.net/plans. You can use promo code F6PMLB for 15% off all of our available options. And also, if you're going to need more customizable settings for your fantasy baseball league, then you need to try Fantrax. Create an account today at fantrax.com/fantasy6pack, and you can see what you've been missing. I know I use all my leagues, almost all my leagues on Fantrax, and to me, the player pool is just unmatched. I mean, it's got the deepest player pool out of all the fantasy sites that I have ever played on. And to me, especially if you're in dynasty formats, that's just a huge bonus, if you ask me. So go ahead and switch your leagues over to Fantrax today. Go ahead and jump in. Today, we're going to be doing the Los Angeles Dodgers. And we're going to go ahead and start with the starting lineup here. All right, so leading off, we have Mookie Betts, followed by Freddie Freeman, then Will Smith. Hitting cleanup is Max Muncy. Hitting fifth is JD Martinez. Sixth is Gavin Lux. Seventh, Trace Thompson. Eighth, David Peralta. And then rounding all that out is Miguel Vargas. I know, this is a little bit different lineup than we've seen in the past from the Dodgers, but still a lot of firepower at the top of that lineup. One of the biggest, I think, key acquisitions for them was the JD Martinez acquisition. We've seen this guy time and time again in this time at Boston and even back in Detroit, just being a great on-base machine as well as hitting for a high average. And then we started to really see the power pop in Boston there. A little bit of a down year last year, but I think JD Martinez is someone that you can get right now. He's going outside the top 150 ADP. Could be a great target. I know depending on which site you play on, he does play only eligible at DH or utility, which is a little bit of a knock on him. But if you can get him, right around the 200 ADP, that's a great value, I think, in my opinion. But when you look at this lineup there, go ahead.
Yeah. No, just going back to JD Martinez before you moved on there, right? It's just if he's DH in your league, I'm staying away from him almost altogether. I mean, yes, he's an interesting bounce back, but if he's kind of just sitting there in my DH where I can't put whoever's hot in my DH spot, or especially if I don't have two DHs, Father Time is undefeated. We've heard that 1,000 times, and last year was just awful. I absolutely think he can bounce back. Look, the Dodgers are amazing. They always are. But at the same time, too, they have a very stacked bench in minor league system, and JD Martinez can start seeing part-time if he's not picking up with that bat. I just don't want a guy who can only have one position, and that's DH, in my lineup, where I'm waiting for just such a high risk-reward type of bat. So for me in particular, JD Martinez is almost off my board unless I'm getting him super late.
Yeah, so when you're looking at this lineup, who are some of the guys that maybe you might be targeting in this lineup?
So I really am expecting a bounce back from Max Muncy. Last year, especially in the first half, he was just terrible. Second half, he was around 800 OPS, which is more, what I expect from Max Muncy. And especially with this kind of lineup, you want to target that. I've been seeing him heavily discounted, going later than he should be, fifth round, sixth round, sometimes later. So definitely Max Muncy, somebody I'm going to be getting for that. With first base. First base is very shallow after you hit kind of those first couple power hitters, the Abreu's, the Freemans. And when you get past that, then it starts getting a little dicey. I am absolutely targeting Freeman and, Freeman, Olsen, Abreu tier. There's another guy who I will be willing to pay up for because of the fact that, his power, his average have just been so consistent, and that's somebody I could just lock into my lineup and never have to worry about again.
I totally agree. The Freddie Freeman and the whole sentiments about the first base being super shallow.
Right.
Right now, Freddie Freeman, you could pound him in the first round, and then you're going to get your high batting average. You're going to get probably 200 plus RBI plus runs. That's just what you want out of somebody to get in the first round. So I totally agree on that, Freddie Freeman.
Yeah, and then finally, it's kind of these other pieces, right? David Peralta, who I have picked up many a time and has sat there in my lineup. Trace Thompson, who's has one of the best family lineages for Los Angeles and the Bay Area. Those guys are interesting. I don't necessarily target any of them, but I definitely want a piece of the Dodgers lineup. So if I can get anybody for cheap, if Trace Thompson's like, one of my last picks or Peralta, I'm not going to be upset about that at all because, we're going to be producing, if they're in the lineup, they're going to be producing runs or having chances for RBIs, et cetera. So I definitely love any piece of this lineup I can get.
Totally agree. Let's go ahead and jump over to the starting rotation here now. So we got Clayton Kershaw as their ace right now. Julio Urias in second. Tony Gonsolin, Noah Syndergaard, and then the fifth spot right now is up for Dustin May. Obviously, at the top of that rotation, we got Clayton Kershaw, father time himself, still showing that he can produce. And then Julio Urias had just an awesome 2022. I think he's up with somebody you can be targeting. And even to a lesser extent, Dustin May, everyone right now is all over the Dustin May breakout. I still want to see a proven track record, right? He came back after surgery. I've just not quite seen those results that we want to see. However, that could happen here in 2023. But to me, Dustin May, I'm kind of out on. Everyone else is kind of I think that you're going to see that ADP rise on Dustin May here in the next couple of weeks. But I don't know. When you're looking at this rotation, what do you think?
Well, Clayton Kershaw is your ratio stabilizer. You know what you're going to get from him, and you just hope that you're going to get 100 plus innings. At any time, he could go on the shelf for the rest of the season. But when Clayton's in the game, you know what you're going to get. Julio Urias, like you said, it was phenomenal last year. I think, without talking about any of the other people here, I think you're looking at who is that ghost fourth starter. Because Noah Syndergaard is there, don't get me wrong. But it's number 6 that I'm really interested in because number 6 is going to have to pop in when Syndergaard gets hurt or Kershaw gets hurt. And that's when we talk about, Ryan Pipiot. Because of the fact that I probably just absolutely destroyed that name, I apologize. But he is somebody that I am absolutely excited about, and he's sliding further and further in drafts because people, forget the fact that he's basically starter, 6A on this whole thing, and it's PPO. So I apologize. Thank goodness our producer told me, and I knew I messed that up as soon as I opened my mouth. But he was getting 20+% whiff rates. He was getting called strikes. The guy was amazing. So Dustin May definitely deserves a hype, but Ryan's right there behind him. So I definitely have somebody that I'm targeting because I can get him later, and I'm not paying that premium with all that May hype.
Yeah, just circling back on May, right now his ADP is up to 144, and we haven't even really hit that draft season yet. So I think that you're going to start seeing that climb even to probably like 125. That's just someone I'm out on right now. He's never surpassed 50 innings in a season. So to me, that's just too high. At 120 to 145, I want someone that I can plug in. I'm going to get at least 100, 120, 140 innings. That's still yet to be seen on May. So I would expect that to be out on May for me.
And that's a great point about the innings. That's something that a lot of people don't pay attention to sometimes and are look at all the stats, but they didn't see the innings portion, especially for the last 2 years. And that's a great point. That durability is concerning, and especially for everything else that's going around with starting pitchers, I definitely would be out on that price.
Yep, exactly. All right, let's jump over to the bullpen here. Right now, penciled in, we have a closer by committee with Daniel Hudson, Evan Phillips, Alec Vestia, Rusardo Gatral. And then right now, the middle rotation is Caleb Ferguson, Yency Almonte. For whatever reason, Shelby Miller still hanging around here in bullpens. Spoken from a Cubs fan that he's been around. Phil Bickford as well as the long reliever. Just looking at this bullpen, we ever since the Jensen has left, we just have not seen anyone kind of come and fill that role long term. The Kimbrel experiment last year, kind of went awry. Of the 4 closers, though, I think to me, right, the Dodgers are going to get saves. They're going to be near the top of the league in saves. So you're going to try and pick somebody out of these 4. And I think if I'm looking at this right now, I'm thinking either Hudson or the Gratterall are probably the leading candidates for that closing role, just in my opinion. I think, we've seen Hudson do the closer role in the past, so he has that experience. But what do you think?
So a couple of things here, right? If it wasn't the Dodgers and I saw this bullpen, I would avoid it at all costs, just in the sense of trying to figure out who to get saves from, right? But because it is the Dodgers and because they're going to win 90-plus games, you want a piece of this bullpen, especially from the saves perspective. But then, of course, like you said, right, who do you pick? One of the things here, again, people kind of forget about is Phillips and Hudson are both recovering from knee surgery. And, I don't remember which knee it was for both those guys, but again, bottom half is such a big portion of pitching, and trusting your knees is huge. So are they going to be able to plant correctly? Are they going to be able to line up where their pitches are? Location, such a key thing, especially if you're having consistent landing. So Hudson and Phillips, I think, are going to be kind of behind here. Just because, discounted for injury. Definitely going to have to watch this in spring training to see where that goes. But I agree with you. There's got to be somebody here. I love Alex. So that's definitely something interesting as well on just kind of where you want to go. From a Holtz perspective, whoever doesn't be the closer, so my gut feeling here is there's going to be some huge acquisition here. There's got to be. If this stumbles at all out of the gate, and that's where I would not put draft capital in this bullpen unless something huge happens, they're going to make a move. And they're going to, trade or pick somebody up, or knowing them, they'll grab one of their, amazing starters and shove them into the bullpen, or, pull up a minor leaguer. There's just so many different things that could happen here, especially with the Dodgers, who have the pocketbook, who have kind of, the different pitching prospects, that I would just avoid trying to pick the closer altogether. I'm not that kind of a gambling man.
Yeah, we talk about draft capital right now. I mean, that's exactly right. I mean, Gratterall right now is an ADP outside top 400. So even if you're just getting like a holds league, or saves plus holds, I mean, he's a great target outside the top 400. But yeah, other than that, that's about as far as I get in this bullpen.
Yep.
All right, let's go ahead and wrap up the Los Angeles Dodgers 2023 Fantasy Baseball Team Preview. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. You're going to get great content all season long, including more Fantasy Baseball Team previews.